Suspense. Autolite and its 96,000 dealers present Mr. Kirk Douglas in The Butcher's Wife, a suspense play produced and edited by William Spear.
Wilcox! I say there, Wilcox, old man.
Remingchester shotgun as I live, breathe, and batter my brains for burgeoning boasts about the battery of batteries, the Autolite Stay Full battery. The battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use.
She's sounding off. Was it not you who defied me to find a camel that could go without water as long as an Autolite Stay Full battery?
Defy you I did, you dubious dunderhead.
Please, no compliments. I concede your claim regarding ordinary 1-hump camels, but what about a 2-hump camel? Need I say more?
Well, you probably mean he can go twice as long without refilling. But Autolite Stay Full batteries hold over 3 times as much liquid reserve above the plates as ordinary batteries. Need I say more?
Zounds. I shall have to find a dromedary with 4 humps.
Even that won't do it, for Autolite Stay Full batteries need water only 3 times a year in normal car use. What's more, in recent tests based on SAE life cycle standards, Autolite Stay Full batteries gave 70% longer average life than batteries without Stay Full features. So get wise. Get an Autolite Stay Full battery, because you're always right with Autolite.
And now, with The Butcher's Wife and the performance of Kirk Douglas, Autolite hopes once again to keep you in suspense.
It started the first day of the job. I was clerking the liquor department of this supermarket. I hadn't been in Los Angeles a week. My brother, when I'd left New York, had given me this letter to a friend of his, a guy who owned a string of these markets. The letter was about could he use me, I was a good fella, he'd counted a favor, you know. And the guy had this opening, liquor clerk, and comes the following Monday. I'm at work. I spent the morning loading the refrigerators with beer, soda water, all that stuff, and sizing up the place. You know, back east, we don't have these supermarkets. There was a vegetable department run by a nice little dark guy. There was a delicatessen. That was run by an old geezer and his frau. There was a bakery department, a meat department, of course, the groceries. No clerks. You pushed a little cart around and helped yourself. To get out, you passed the cash register, and the girl loaded your stuff and rang up the price. My surveillance of the place had reached the girl who checked the groceries when the trouble started. She was looking at herself in a little mirror and putting on some lipstick. Her back was to me. I see her stop putting on the lipstick, but still looking at the mirror. I see her eyes in the mirror. And then she turns around very slowly and looks at me. Just looks at me. She must have been 50 feet away at the least, and with customers between us. But it was like we were all alone, the 2 of us, on a beach somewhere, an empty beach. I should have looked away. I should have winked and forgotten it. I should have gone on stacking beer and thinking about how to be a success. That's what I should have done. What I did do was I stood right there and locked eyes with her for I don't know how long. And all the time I was looking at her, I was sending her mental telegrams. You and me, baby. You and me.
Hey. Hey, you. Hey.
You and me, baby.
Hey, what's the matter? Sleep on your feet?
Oh, what'd you say?
You the new guy, huh?
Yeah, I just started this morning.
I'm Nick Arno. I work the vegetables.
Oh, Harry Carr. Pleased to know you.
Yeah. You got 2 bottles of cold beer?
Oh, sure. Cold as a witch's heart. Only don't open them here by the counter, you know, it's the law.
Yeah, sure. I have them out back with my lunch. Well?
Oh, Nick.
What?
The gal over there by the cash register.
Huh? Mary?
Is that her name? Mary?
Yeah. What about her?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. What about her?
Oh. No soap. She's married.
Oh, you're kidding.
You see that big guy over there with a knife? The butcher?
Yeah?
Ask him if I'm kidding.
Well, who's he?
Her husband.
Oh.
See ya.
I looked over at him. He's a funny-looking guy, a real creep. He stood there stropping a tremendous big cleaver, whistling to himself. He had on, one of those hard straw hats and a white apron. He had those rimless glasses with thick lenses so that his eyes looked like baseballs. When he saw I was looking at him, he nodded and went on whistling and stropping. A real creep. Later on, I watched him softening up some sort of steaks. He had a big steel mallet with points on it. He was whacking away at this meat like a pile driver. I watched him grinding and slicing, quartering, sawing the bones off some of the cuts. And always those eyes like baseballs. And that teeny little mouth lost in the big red face, whistling. And I looked over at her, and she was giving me the eye again. We closed at 7. The vegetable guys carted out the old stuff. Delicatessen man put away his pickles. I checked the register, counted my slips, made my entries. Krause the butcher was still there, packing and cleaning, putting stuff in that big refrigerator room back of the counter, but she'd left. I got to my street coat and walked out.
Hello?
She was standing, looking at the shoe display a couple of doors down from the market.
I said hello. Don't you say hello wherever it is you come from?
Sure. Hello.
Taking the bus?
Yeah.
Which way do you go?
Down to Western.
I'm going that way. I'll drive you.
No, I don't think you'd better.
What's the matter?
I wouldn't want to trouble you.
No trouble.
Well,
Come on. I'm parked right here.
Yeah, but what about, Mr. Krause?
He'll be there an hour yet. He takes the bus.
Oh.
Come on.
Well,
Come on. Don't be afraid.
I'm not afraid
You're
of you.
You're afraid of me. Come on. Get in.
So all day long I'm pushing liquor at them. Now they're pushing it at me.
You're cute, Harry. I mean it. You're really cute.
So are you, baby.
You really think so?
Sure, baby.
Harry, let's get out of here. Go someplace else.
Hey, wait a minute. I gotta work in the morning.
Hey, silly, this is the morning.
It is. Hey, Mac, what's the time?
2:30.
Harry, you really think I'm cute?
Oh, sure, baby. Look, but it's late, real late.
Don't worry,
Look,
sugar.
Look, come on. I'll take you home.
No. I'll take you home.
Oh, I felt lousy the next morning. I'm not much of a drinker. She looked fresh as a daisy, smiling and joking with the customers. I didn't look over there. I didn't want to. I didn't want to think about what she must have gone on between her and Krause when she got in. He didn't look happy. I knew why. I kept waiting for him to turn those baseball eyes on me. But he never did. Just went on smashing, slicing, grinding, sawing, all that. When I came out that night, she was there. I tried to disregard her,
Harry.
Yeah, she said she had something very serious to talk over. Well, the way she said it, I got in the car again.
No, he's awful, Harry. Really, you don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's
You
tough.
just wouldn't believe some of it.
Look, Mary,
He's crazy jealous.
Well, of you?
That's silly.
Well, I guess it's...
Jealous of me. Or should I say of you?
Me? What's he know about me?
Well, I got him this morning, and there he was, sitting up like Grandma in his bathrobe. He says, "Where you been?" I said, "What's it to you, Auntie?" They call him Auntie. It drives him crazy.
Now, look, Mary,
So he said, "Don't think you can fool me." And then he started to cry and saying a lot of things about Babylon and then sitting on the waters. Real crazy talk.
Look, I better go, Mary.
Oh,
I don't...
Harry, don't be silly. He doesn't know who you are, who it is.
Yeah, but he could find out.
Not unless I told him.
Oh, look, you wouldn't do that.
Of course not, baby. As long as you're good to me.
The next night, I stayed in the market. I was scared. I didn't want any more of that stuff. I did inventory, counted bottles, cleaned the refrigerator, changed the water in the soft drinks cooler. I kept busy. Across the market, Krause was moving around, cleaning up. After a while, he took off his apron and his straw hat, and he came over. Hello, Mr. Krause.
Give me a bottle of beer.
Sure thing.
All right to drink it here?
Sure. We're closed, aren't we?
Yeah.
Here. Here's an opener.
Thanks. You're working late, huh?
Well, you know how it is. Nothing to do evenings.
No?
Nah. I'm new out here. Takes time to make friends.
Yeah. For me, maybe it would take time. But not for a good-looking young fellow like yourself.
Oh, I don't know. You're a big, broad-shouldered guy.
Yeah, sure, Big. That's me.
How's the beer?
It's all right. Listen, do you know my wife?
Your wife?
Yeah, you know her?
She, isn't she the one who checks the groceries?
Yeah.
Oh, very nice-looking lady.
You think so?
Well, of course, don't get me wrong. I mean it very sincerely. A very nice, respectable-looking...
Yeah, sure. Listen, have you noticed anything funny going on there?
Funny?
Somebody's playing around with her. And I want to find out who.
With her?
You wouldn't think it now, would you?
No, I should say not.
I don't know who it is, but listen, haven't you noticed anything? I mean, some guy who shoots the breeze with her or something like that?
Well, no.
Then will you do me a favor?
Sure. What?
Keep your eyes open.
Oh, I will, Mr. Krause. I promise you.
I'll find the guy. I'll find out who he is if it takes a year. And when I do, I'll kill him. Good night.
Good night.
Autolite is bringing you Kirk Douglas in The Butcher's Wife, tonight's production in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
I say, Wilcox, you're keeping me in suspense.
Ah, but not for long, Remingchester, old man. I'll tell you here and now, you just can't find anything, man, beast, or battery, to beat the liquid reserve of a genuine Autolite Stay-Full battery.
That's a powerful statement, Wilcox.
That's a powerful battery, Remingchester. Needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use.
Extraordinary. Well, I must be on my way if I'm to find a more capacious camel. After all, life is short.
Not the life of the Autolite Stay-Full battery. With fiberglass retaining mats at every positive plate, Autolite Stay-Full batteries give 70% longer average life than batteries without the Stay-Full features. That's based on recent tests conducted according to SAE life cycle standards. See your Autolite dealer soon, friends, because you're always right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage our star, Kirk Douglas, in The Butcher's Wife, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
See how it happens? You go along minding your own business, trying to be a sweet guy, and whammy. Up pops the devil. The roof caves in and there you are. The executioner's honing the axe and whistling to himself. I tell you, I was nervous. My hands were sweating and my teeth were aching. And, well, if it hadn't been for needing the job bad, I'd have put on my coat and hightailed it out of there but fast. It was a situation. And Mary's looking over at me every now and then, giving me the big eyes. Yeah, the heck with you, baby. Get yourself another boy. And Krause is looking over, raising his eyebrows. Do I know who it is yet? And I'm making a long face and shaking my head. Then Nick, the vegetable man, comes over.
I see you didn't understand what I told you the other day.
Well, what's that, Nick?
About Mary. I told you she was a married woman.
Oh, what are you talking
I
about?
see you, the both of you, coming out of a bar the other
You're
morning.
nuts, Nick. Listen,
Don't pull the hard face with me, Harry.
What?
I ought to tip Grouse off to what's going on.
Nick, look, Nick, be a good guy, will you?
Be a good guy, will you? I'm telling you, you better be a good guy. And leave the butcher's wife alone if you know what's good for you.
Look, I will, Nick. I will. I swear it. It was a mistake, that's all.
Yeah.
Look, oh, be a good guy, Nick. Forget about it.
All right. This once, okay. But do it again and you'll get what's coming to you.
Sure, Nick.
And I'm not just
sure.
talking.
Harry.
What? Blow, will you? Blow.
Harry, I wish you wouldn't treat me this
Look,
way.
Blow, get away.
Look at me, Harry.
Don't you know your husband's watching you?
He's got his glasses off. He couldn't see Hollywood Bowl. You better be nice to me, Harry.
Please, Mary. Please go back to your cash register.
I want to see you nice.
No.
Oh, yes.
Look, understand me, Mary. You're poisoned. Now get away.
You'll see me,
Look,
Harry,
I'm not
or you'll see Krause.
All right. Where?
I'll be parked around the corner.
Around the corner.
Don't be late. Oh, Harry. Stop being silly. Come on, get in.
Look, please, can't you understand? I don't want any trouble.
What are you so afraid of?
Trouble.
Oh, come on, baby. Let's go and have some
Look,
fun,
please,
huh? What's the matter?
Oh. Hello, Nick.
I warn you.
Listen, you've got it wrong, Nick.
Oh, no.
What is all this?
You shut up.
Don't you talk to me like that.
I talk to you like I please, cheat.
Harry! Hit him, Harry!
I didn't hit him. He was looking down his nose at me, and he was a nice, wide-open target, but I didn't hit him. Because all of a sudden, I knew what I had to do, and I knew I had to do it fast.
Harry! Hey, where you going, baby?
I didn't turn. Nick was still back there beside the car. I went into the market. Mr. Krause. Mr. Krause.
Yeah?
What? I found out.
What? I can't hear you.
I said I found out. I found out who it is.
Who?
Nick.
The vegetable man.
Yeah.
The vegetable man.
I knew yesterday, but I didn't want to get him in trouble. I told him to lay off, but he said nuts. He said if I opened my mouth, he'd tell you it was me, that I was the one.
Vegetable man.
I'm sorry, Mr. Krause.
I never did like him. I never did like him.
Well, good night.
Good night.
I took a bottle of brandy home with me. No dinner. I just lay there on the bed about 3 hours, talking to myself. Finally, the heck with the job. I got up, started to pack. I was broke, but I didn't care. I'd have to skip out on my rent, but it didn't matter. I didn't care. I wanted out from Krause, from Mary, from Nick, and... Suddenly, I figured that even if Nick was a snooping little rat with his holier-than-thou, I ought to clear him. So I wrote a note to Krause. I said, I did it, Krause. Don't blame anybody else. I took the note in my bag and the key to the market, and I tiptoed out of the rooming house. I caught a bus and went to the market. The boulevard was deserted. I looked in through the glass door. In the back of the place up high, there was a red neon beer sign that blinked on and off, on and off. I unlocked the door, went in, and locked the door behind me. The place was kind of eerie in the dark, what with that red light blinking on and off. And 1 minute the place was pitch black, and the next there was 1,000 little red lights bouncing off the canned stuff in the groceries part. I went to the butcher counter first. I laid the note on the scale where he'd be sure to see it. Then I crossed over, past the vegetables and the bakery, past the delicatessen, to the liquor department. It was dark, and I kept bumping into things, and I thought, well, why am I acting like a criminal? So I turned on the light. The whole place was suddenly so dazzling it hurt my eyes. I looked at the cash register. I was just thinking, well, maybe I'd take a couple of bucks. When it happened, I hadn't touched it. Well, there were other switches in the place. I didn't know where. After the brightness, the place seemed twice as dark. The red sign blinked on and off, on and off. Then I saw Krause. He was standing behind the meat counter at the scale, and he picked up the note, my note. I did it, Krause, and he read it. I couldn't see his eyes, just the glasses. And every time the light blinked, they shone red, bright red, like some sort of terrible toy. And they began to move. And it was like a movie that you see one frame at a time. Each time the light blinked on, he wasn't where he'd been before, but closer. Closer. Krause? Mr. Krause? Mr. Krause! The red glasses kept coming at me. I edged over toward the vegetables, and he moved too. I moved the other way toward the groceries. There was a railing. I climbed over it. I was in one of the long, narrow aisles of cans and bottles. The stuff was piled head high. I waited, hoping maybe he didn't see me. But he did. I hid behind a stack of canned dog food. He sounded 30 or 40 feet away. I waited. I looked around the corner. He was looking down another aisle. I ducked my head back. Couldn't understand that sound. I looked again. The aisle was empty, but in the center where Krause had stood were his shoes. He'd taken them off. Very quietly, like that, and took mine off. And I began to tiptoe away from where I'd seen him. And then I rounded a corner. There he was, not 2 feet away with his back to me. And I lost my balance. I put my hand out to steady him. A whole stack of cans went over. I ran. I kept running, and there I was. I was at the end of an aisle, and there was the wall, the back wall. And I turned, and he was coming straight at me. My hand touched something cold, a bottle. I grabbed it. It was ammonia. Krause, get back. Get back, Krause, or I'll blind you. Krause, I warn you. I swear I will. He stood there like a crazy giant, like Cyclops tearing at his eyes, the ammonia running down his face. I didn't wait. I ran past him, bumping him aside, ran and cut around the cash register, past the delicatessen in the bakery to the door. It was locked. The key, well, I'd left it in the lock. It was gone. I tried to break the glass with my fist, but it was like steel. Well, I couldn't kick it. I'd left my shoes behind. And Krause kept coming, feeling his way along, moaning. In the blinking light, I could see he still had the knife in his hand. I slid behind the counter of the meat department. Oh, under my feet, the sawdust. I bent, scooped up a handful. His face was awful, twisted and gleaming. His glasses were gone, and his eyes were screwed tight shut in pain. He stopped 10 feet away, swaying. Then he opened his eyes, opened them as wide as he could, and moved his head from side to side, trying nearsightedly to see me. Then his head stopped moving, and holding it sideways, using one eye to see me, he came on, the knife held way back. I waited. I let fly with the sawdust and jumped to one side, my back up against the block, and he twisted and skidded in the sawdust, and he fell. He was very still for a moment. I waited. He rose to his knees. In the blinking light, I saw the knife. He'd fallen on it. It stuck out of the middle of his chest. Krause! Then, very slowly, he got to his feet, one hand over the place where the knife was, and started toward me again. There was a rack over the chopping block. He reached up and got a cleaver. I backed up. Behind me, I felt a large, cold handle. The door to the meat storage room. I heaved it open. Inside, it was cold, bitter cold, and dark. In the center of the door was one small, thick pane of glass. It was clouded. I wiped it clear with my hand and looked out. Krause stood there, his face an inch from mine, looking in. And then his eyes rolled back and his face went slack and he fell out of sight. He was dead. I was sure of it. I felt around in the dark for the knob, but I couldn't find it. I felt the door from top to bottom. There were bars and bolts and something that felt like a handle. I yanked and tugged, but it wouldn't move. There was a knife on a slab there, a butcher knife. I felt around the door for a crack, slipped the knife in, and twisted. Broke off. Another door, I thought. Maybe there's... Oh, please. Another door out of this place. I began to search for it in the dark, feeling along the icy, damp walls. I walked into something cold that moved when I touched it. Oh, the side of beef. But no door. I moved farther. Another icy, cold thing. And I moved down and came up against another... As cold as the rest, but... And I'm crazy. I know it. I'm crazy. This one feels as though it's wearing silk stockings. So here I am. It's awfully cold. Cold as a witch's heart. Cold as a tomb. This thing I have in my hand, this knife handle, I wish it had a blade. I know what I do, I know, but it hasn't. Anyway, well, I'm innocent of anything. They'll believe me. They will. There's a letter outside on the scale. It says, I did it, Krause. Don't blame anybody else. And there's my suitcase. Well, that'll prove I meant to go away and not cause anybody a hard time. And there's... Oh, the time goes slow. And while I'm waiting and waiting and waiting, I'll tell myself the whole story again. And again, it'll give me something to do, you know. Something to think about. You see, it started the first day of the job. I was clerking the liquor department of the supermarket. I hadn't been in Los Angeles a week. My brother, when I left New York, had given me this letter to a friend of his. You know, a guy who owned a string of these supermarkets. The letter was about could he use me. I was a good fellow. He counted a favor, you know. The guy had this opening a liquor clerk. It was the first day, and I'd come to Los Angeles. I could give you a short time.
Suspense, presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, Kirk Douglas.
Remingchester.
Gosh, hey, you gave me a start.
No, I didn't, Remingchester, old man. It must have been your new Autolite Stay Full battery, the battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. Just the thing for starting right. And remember, it's just one of more than 400 products made by Autolite for cars, trucks, planes, and boats in 28 plants, coast to coast. These include complete electrical systems for many makes of America's finest cars. Batteries, spark plugs, generators, coils, distributors, starting motors, Autolite bullseye sealed beam headlights. All engineered to fit together perfectly, work together perfectly because they're a perfect team. So don't accept electrical parts supposed to be as good. Ask for and insist on Autolite original factory parts at your neighborhood service station, car dealer, garage, or repair shop. Remember, you're always right with Autolite. Next Thursday for Suspense, Marlena Dietrich will be our star. The play is called Murder Strikes 3 Times, and it is, as we say...
A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Tonight's Suspense play was produced and edited by William Spear and directed by Norman MacDonald. Music for Suspense is composed by Lucien Morawek and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The Butcher's Wife is an original play for radio by James Poe. Kirk Douglas, whose thrilling performance in Champion has placed him among the Academy Award contenders, will soon be seen in Young Man with a Horn.
You can buy Autolite Stay Full batteries, Autolite regular or resistor spark plugs, Autolite electrical parts at your neighborhood Autolite dealers. Switch to Autolite. Good night.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Hope you're enjoying today's Bah Ghoulie Show by OTR Halloween Holidays. And remember, if your radio has a record player, check out Watchwaddle's Greatest Hits. Nothing like some good old-fashioned spoofs and gags. Available on 16-speed record. Each one comes with a 45 adapter.
In the Little Theater of the Air.
Ghost stories. Weird stories. And murders, too. The hermit knows of them all. Turn out your lights. Turn them out. Ah. Have you heard the story? The House of Purple Shadows? Eh? Then listen while the hermit tells you the story.
Yesterday, we weren't so alarmed. When he didn't come to the office this morning, then we concluded something must be wrong.
He's here in the house. We'll find out in a minute, Benson.
It's dark in this hallway, Mr. Lamont.
Must be a light switch here somewhere. Oh, yes, here it is.
Oh, there, that's better.
Hasn't been sleeping here at this house for over a year.
No, but they said at the club that he wasn't there yesterday. Hadn't slept in his room there last night.
In that case, he may be here.
That's what I'm afraid of. Maybe he had a stroke or something and wasn't able to get to a phone.
We'll look upstairs first.
Yes, I think we'd better.
Here's the stairway. It's queer, isn't it? If he came here in the evening, wouldn't he have left some lights on?
That's what I was thinking. It's gloomy in this house. No wonder he shut it all up and went to live at the club after his wife died.
Mr. Davison has always been a peculiar man. I haven't been his attorney as long as I have without realizing that.
Do you know which bedroom is his?
Yes, I think this one. At least we'll try this room first.
Is it locked?
Well, it just seems to stick. Must be the door is swelled.
Let me try it, Mr. Lamont.
Oh, I'm getting it now. Here it comes.
Gee whiz.
What's the matter, Benson?
I don't know, but when you opened the door, it was as if something grabbed a hold of my hand.
What?
Well, I know it sounds queer, but it was as if an icicle touched me.
It's just the cold air rushing out of this room. It's as black as night in here. Curtains and drapes are heavily drawn. Now, if I can find a light in here.
Oh, here it is, Mr. Lamont.
He's not in here.
No, not here. Maybe this isn't his room.
If he's going to stay in the house, he'd sleep in here.
This room hasn't been touched for a long time, has it?
Well, I guess not.
Mr. Lamont, isn't it queer that this room should be so cold?
Well, no, there's nothing strange about that. A room that's all closed up gets damp and cold.
I have a feeling that it's going to start snowing in here any minute. This cold air, seems to freeze your very blood.
Mr. Benson, I don't think your employer stayed in this house night before last. I don't think anyone's been in this house for a long time.
Well, then, where is he?
I don't know. We'll look in the other rooms up here. Turn off this light.
Shall we close the door?
Yes, leave everything just as we found it. If he finds out that we've been snooping around up here, he may not like it. He's very peculiar.
I know, but certainly he'd want us to hunt for him if he thought we were worried. If we thought he was lying up here, dead...
He doesn't like people prying into his affairs.
That's true.
Yeah, we're looking this upstairs library. If he's not in there, well, then, means he's not here in the house.
Yes. What was that?
Sounded like a moan.
Yes, it did. Mr. Davison, where are you? Mr. Davison?
Mr. Davison, where are you? Well, he's not here in the library.
No, it sounded as if it came from downstairs.
Yes, I guess it did. Hurry, let's get down there.
Yes. Mr. Davison, where are you?
And he's not here in the living room.
No, but we heard a moan from somewhere.
Sounded like it.
Mr. Lamont, look. Look, do you see what I'm pointing at?
Where?
That book on the table. It moved. It moved all by itself.
What?
It did. I saw it. I saw it. It moved from one side of the table to the other.
Nonsense. That's impossible.
My eyes aren't playing me tricks that badly. I saw it move. Come over here. Look. You see where it's been lying?
Imprint in the dust.
Yes. Now it's over here.
Oh, wait a minute. This is getting a little too deep for me.
Oh.
Benson, what's the matter now?
I felt that touch on my hand again. I did.
Hey, there is something queer going on in here. Look. Look over there at the window. You see that?
Yeah.
It's like someone was touching those drapes and making them move.
Yes. Mr. Lamont, let's get out of here. Let's get out. Hurry.
Right.
They couldn't see me. They couldn't hear my voice. Isn't there anyone who can hear me speak? Oh, if you know how badly I needed help, how hard I tried to make them hear me. You people who are of the world and know it. You who can step to the mirror, look in it, and see your face and body reflected there. Oh, how thankful you should be. Just a few moments ago, I managed to propel myself to the mirror in the hall. I looked into it. I stood directly in front of it. There was nothing there. I have no face, no body, no arms, no hands. And yet a sound came from whatever it is that I am, like a moan. My lawyer, Mr. Lamont, and my bookkeeper, Mr. Benson, came rushing down the stairs. I could see them, but great heaven, they couldn't see me. I called out, "Help me! Help me!" But they went out the door, slammed it shut, left me here alone. Oh, doomed to what? Isn't there anyone who can tell me what's happened to me? 2 days ago, yes, I can still reckon days, I left the office and went to the club. It was about an hour before dinner. I sat reading the paper. Suddenly all the letters began to jump and dance before my eyes. And I distinctly heard something whispering in my ears.
Go to your house. Go to your house.
I threw down the paper. No one seemed to be watching me. I was so frightened I felt I must be ill. But I couldn't tell anyone in the club. There was a buzzing in my ears. And I could hear that voice saying,
"Go to your house. Go to your house."
I walked out the door down the street. Some power seemed to be forcing me to go. I walked fast. I approached my house. I haven't lived in it since my wife died. I looked up at it. It seemed to be weaving back and forth. Black clouds hung over it. I walked up the steps. I reached the outside door. Mechanically, I took the key from my pocket, inserted it in the lock, opened the door. I stood inside. Now, why was I here? Why had I come to the house? I didn't know. I walked into the living room. Suddenly, I felt a great rush of cold wind. It engulfed me, whirled round me, seemed to be wrapping itself about me. Help! Help! What is it? Help! Help! My body is freezing. My blood has turned to ice. Help! 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 I can't move! I can't move. I couldn't move. The room seemed to be bathed in a purple twilight. It was then that I realized that I no longer had a physical body. I seemed to see everything in the room but myself. Look down at your hand and arm. Realize what it would mean to have the feeling of it, but not be able to see it. Can you imagine such torture? I can make things move, but I can't see the hand that moves them. Oh, horrible, terrible calamity that has befallen me. How long am I going to go on like this? What sort of a world am I living in? In the purple shadows between this and the next. Someone have mercy on me. Help me. Great heaven, someone help me.
Mr. Benson.
Yes, Mr. Lamont.
Before we go into the next room to talk to Mr. Davison's niece, I think there are a few things we should settle between us.
Yes, sir.
Yesterday ended a year since the disappearance of Mr. Davison. There's no doubt about it. He's dead.
He must be, sir.
He was kidnapped, which I'm inclined to think happened. Kidnappers must have gotten frightened and killed him.
There were no ransom notes received?
No, because they became frightened after they killed him.
But his body?
Don't know what they did with it. It's possible that though we dragged the river, it's still there. We've gone all over that before. That isn't what I want to talk to you about. It's his house.
Yes.
Police have been through it dozens of times since the day last year when you and I went through it.
I know they have.
If they saw or heard anything peculiar, they failed to mention it, as far as you and I are concerned.
I have never mentioned what happened to a soul.
Nor I. Been so long now, I wonder if it could have been true.
I often think the same thing.
According to Mr. Davison's will, the house and part of his estate is to be deeded to his niece, Loretta Hathaway. She and her husband are in the next room. I think it best, Mr. Benson, that we never tell her what occurred to us that day.
I agree.
She and her husband are not wealthy. Money in the house would be very welcome to them. We shouldn't spoil it for them.
No.
All right. We'll go inside now and read the will to them. Mr. Hathaway will take over Mr. Davison's business. Think you find him a nice man to work for. Come. Let's go inside.
Dan, you think you're going to like it here in this house?
It almost seems to be too grand for us.
I know it. Weren't you surprised to find out that Uncle Jim had willed us so much? Business, half his money, and this house?
Well, rather. But then, of course, there was no one else for him to leave it to.
I know. Dan, have you ever thought he might have committed suicide?
No. I never thought that.
Mother said he wasn't always as peculiar as he was during his last years.
What do you mean?
Well, I remember her saying that it was after he built this house and he and Aunt Mary moved into it that he began to change.
You know, there's something about this place that would make anybody change.
Now, what do you mean?
What I mean, Loretta, is that... it's so blamed cold in here.
The house has been shut up for over 3 years, Dan.
I know, but it's warm outside. This house is like an icebox. We've had the windows open all day.
It'll get thawed out in a few days.
I hope so.
I suppose we better retire. You take charge of the office tomorrow, don't you?
Yes.
Poor Uncle Jim. I still keep thinking that he may have committed suicide. I've often wondered if they went through his desk and things to see if he left any notes.
Oh, yes, they've gone through his things dozens of times.
Dan?
Yes?
It was 3 years ago that Aunt Mary died, wasn't it?
Oh, about that.
She took an overdose of sleeping powder by mistake. Then 6 months after that, Mother died. Then Uncle Jim disappeared. A lot of tragedy in one family in a few years, isn't it?
I wouldn't dwell on that, Loretta. What are you doing?
I just thought I'd go through his desk to see if I could find anything that no one else has discovered.
I wouldn't look through those things tonight. Let's go upstairs.
I will in a minute. Dan, come here.
What is it?
Look at this. Look at this writing.
Well, what is it?
That's what I'm asking you.
Just purple marks on a piece of paper.
I know, but what peculiar marks. Like they were made with a fingernail and written in some foreign language. What do you suppose it is?
I haven't any idea. It's probably been there for ages. If it had any significance, the police would have used it.
I know, but it's lying right here on top of all these papers. As if it had been dropped here just recently. of that paper. It's ice cold.
Yes, it's like everything else in this house. Oh, come on. You can rummage through that desk tomorrow. I'm going upstairs. Do you realize it's nearly midnight?
Dan! Dan!
For heaven's sakes, what is it?
Look. See that window blind? Look at it.
Why, it's moving.
Yes. Look at it. It's moving up and down all by itself.
Oh, I see what it is, Loretta. There's something the matter with the roller. You've seen that happen to window curtains before. They fly way up to the top or way down to the bottom of the window when the roller's broken.
But, Dan, it was just as if some unseen hand moved that window curtain. That's what it was like. Some unseen hand moved that curtain.
Loretta and Dan see strange things, too. Can it be that Davison is still trying to make himself known to the people in his house? The hermit will tell you before the night is done.
Now, the hermit again.
Midnight in the house. Loretta and Dan are sleeping, but not... Well, listen.
No, I am not sleeping. I never sleep. You know that I've been wandering in this, my house, for over a year, living in hideous torture. Oh, I've tried to make someone understand, but it's useless. They only grow frightened, as Loretta did earlier this evening. But she didn't get frightened enough, no. I'll tell you why. What I've discovered in these long, endless hours that I've spent here. There's something strange about this place. Something horrible. You hear the wind? It's beginning again. About midnight every night, it springs up. There's a queer purple glow over everything. The cold sears me all through again, penetrating to my very marrow. I know. I have no form that you can see, or I can see. But I can feel pain just the same. Such pain as you never dreamed of in your normal world. Loretta and Dan will suffer the same transformation as I have if they don't get out of this house. I've been convinced for a long time now that it must have been true that my wife, Mary, realized there was something wrong in this house. That's why she took the sleeping powders that night. She took her own life through fear. But why didn't she warn me so that I could die? For as it is now, I may go on suffering like this for ages and centuries. There may be thousands of houses all over the world that are under a spell like this one is. There must be other people living in this strange world like I am. Here it comes again. This wind that lives in this world of purple shadows. I've got to warn Loretta and Dan. I've got to get them out of the house. I must propel myself up the stairs and open the door to their room. I'm climbing the stairs now. I can see in the night. I can see everything but myself. I think my hand is touching the banister. Now, I'm at the top of the stairs. I must open the door to their room. Oh, that wind. It's making me suffer such pain. I must warn them. Loretta. She doesn't hear me. Loretta, you must get out of here. Loretta.
Oh.
She's turning into sleep.
What is it? Dan, Dan, wake up. Wake up.
What?
Wake up, Dan.
What'd you say?
Wake up. Look, there's a strange light in this room. And where's the wind coming from?
Loretta, get out. Get out of this house. It's going to be too late.
There is a strange light in here. Turn up the night lamp.
It doesn't seem to make any difference. The light is getting stronger and stronger. And the wind is freezing me. Freezing my blood.
Loretta, I feel it too. Let's get out of this room.
Help. I can't move. I can't move.
Loretta, I can't move either. I'm powerless.
Help. Someone help us. Help. I can feel my whole body changing.
Loretta, what's happening to us?
Dan, help me.
I reached out for you and knocked over the lamp. Loretta, I can't see my hand anymore. I can't see my arms or my legs.
Look. Standing in this room. It's Uncle Jim.
Jim Davison.
Yes. You see me now. For you're changed the same as I am.
What's happened to us?
We've entered a strange world. It's this house. It's under some horrible spell. I've been in these shadows since the day I disappeared.
Uncle Jim, is there nothing we can do? Nothing?
There's our only hope, see? You knocked over that lamp, Dan. This room will soon be all afire.
Yes.
Let it burn. It may burn down the house and give us the freedom of death. It's our only hope, our only salvation. Death, give us freedom. Let us get out of this torture. Have mercy. Save us. Have mercy. Save us.
What's the news, Mr. Lamont? Did they find the bodies?
They've gone through the charred wreck of that house for hours. There's no trace of a body there.
Well, you think they got out before the house burned? Then where are they?
Benson, I don't think they got out.
But they didn't find their bodies, Mr. Lamont.
They didn't find them, but no one will ever hear of them again.
What do you mean?
It's difficult to explain to anyone but you, because you and I know there was something strange about that place.
Yes.
I was with the firemen when we went through the wreckage. It was their bedroom. There was nothing there. But Benson, as we were going through it, smoke, of course, was smoldering there, but a huge purple flame sprung up and seemed to lose itself in the atmosphere. It startled me. I stepped back. Firemen thought I'd found something. Of course, I couldn't explain to them. I don't know that I can explain to you. But it was as if, well, as if something registered in my mind, and a voice said to me, "You'll never find their bodies. They're gone. Gone forever."
With the house burned down, they who lived in the world of purple shadows are liberated forever. They're free, no longer tortured. Turn on your lights. Turn them on. I'll be back. Pleasant dreams.
All characters, places, and occurrences mentioned in the Hermit's Cave are fictitious, and similarity to persons, places, or occurrences is purely accidental.
Yank Stripes, Beechnut gum.
By Beechnut, by gum.
Yank Stripes in Fruit Stripe gum.
By Beechnut, by gum.
By gosh.
No, by gum. By Beechnut,
By Beechnut,
by gum.
by gum.
By Fruit Stripe,
Stripe,
by gum.
by gum. Yank Stripes.
By Beechnut,
By Beechnut,
by gum.
by golly.
By gum.
With 5 different flavors, with extra flavor for the whole family in every stripe.
Luscious lime stripe. Lip smack and lemon stripe. Delicious orange stripe.
Mixed fruit and cherry stripe. All for you in every pack of Beechnut Fruit Stripe gum. By Beechnut,
by gum.
by G,
by gum.
by King,
by gum.
by Gush.
By gum.
And there's extra flavor for the whole family in every scrumptious stripe.
More flavors
to choose, more flavors to choose. The flavors smart's lively, the flavor stays lively. By Beechnut, by Beechnut, by gum, by gum. Beechnut Fruit Stripe for the whole family. By gum. Count Chocula.
And Frankenberry.
Coming your way.
How about a
monster
for breakfast
today?
Frankenberry has strawberry-flavored marshmallows.
And Count Chocula has chocolatey marshmallows.
Salt of this called
nutritious breakfast.
Something free lurks in Monster cereal. Will it make you handsome, charming? Specially marked boxes of Monster cereals know. Inside one of these free wax lips, fangs, or mustaches, they just uncover the real you.
And now, the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the series of radio dramas dedicated to the supernatural, the unusual, and the unknown. Come with me, my friends. We shall descend to the world of the unknown and forbidden. Down to the depths where the veil of time is lifted, and the supernatural reigns as king. Come with me and listen to the tale of the Hangman's Rope.
Jim, it came from our right. We better take a look. Yeah. I hope nothing...
Arnold!
Huh? Look. Hanging from that tree, swinging back and forth. It's a man.
The Hall of Fantasy will present The Hangman's Rope in just a moment. And now for our story, an original tale of fantasy entitled The Hangman's Rope.
There is a legend, you know, a tale about the hangman. For 23 years, the executioner for the crown. Jack Ketch was his name, Governor. Jack Ketch.
I remember we were on our way back from the lake, Jim and Carol and I. And for some reason, we started back to the city later than usual. We hadn't been driving for more than half an hour when one of those sudden spring storms...
Now, where did that come from?
Someone said there might be a storm tonight, but I thought we'd be home before it broke. Well, we'd better put the wipers on.
We started back too late tonight.
What was it that held us up, Jim? I don't know. A lot of things. When I finally looked at my watch, I couldn't believe my eyes.
Arnold, look out. There's a man right in front of the car.
You stay here, Carol. Come on, Arnie. We'd better take a look. Yeah, right. We didn't hit him, did we? I don't think so. Now, why would someone be out in the middle of the road on a night like this? There's a lot of crazy people in this world, Arnie. He must have been one of them. Yeah, I'm getting soaked. Now, he was just about here. I can't understand. Jim, look. Where? There beside the tree. I don't see anything. I guess I was wrong. You know, for a minute I thought I saw someone hanging from that tree. Oh, you must have been mistaken. You know, I can't figure this out, Arnie. That guy was out here on the road, right in front of us. I saw him just as plain as day. But now there's no one around. Yeah. We'd better get back to the car. Yeah, that's for sure. There's no sense looking back at that tree, Arnie. There's nothing back there. I don't know. I thought I saw someone swinging there back and forth with a rope around his neck. No, you couldn't have. Maybe it was some kind of optical illusion. It could have been a shadow or a branch or anything.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything. Well, there's the car.
Oh, you two must like it out there in the rain.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not. All the time that you were out there in the rain, the man you almost hit was talking to me.
What did you say?
You heard me.
Oh, now, sis, wait a minute. I looked back at the car a couple of times. I didn't see anyone talking to you.
Well, I don't know what's wrong with your eyes, then. I asked him if we couldn't give him a lift. And he said, no, he only had a little distance to go.
Carol, honey, this is the truth. We didn't see anyone near this car.
No. Look, I can prove it. He insisted I take this... Oh, that's strange.
What?
He was such an unusual man. Not American. He insisted that I accept a ring from him. Practically forced it on me. I put it in my pocket, and now it's gone. And in its place, there's a funny little piece of rope. Shaped like a hangman's noose.
I knew Carol wasn't lying to us. I asked her if she would let me have the little piece of rope. After I dropped them off at their place, I went home, took it out, and set it on the table. I can't explain it, but there was something about that rope which seemed old. It was made of hemp, the kind of rope you would imagine Jack Ketch might have used 250 years ago when he was the hangman. That night, as I slept, my sleep was troubled. In my dreams, there was a huge black gallows. I saw a man climbing the stairs to his death. He reached the top and stood there. Standing beside him was a black-hooded man. He raised his hand and the trap door sprung open. There was a scream. And then I saw this man swinging back and forth. His face was hidden from me, yet there was something strangely familiar about him. I felt as if I knew him quite well.
We'll return to the tale of the Hangman's Rope in just a moment. Back now to our tale of fantasy entitled The Hangman's Rope.
When I awoke from my dream, I couldn't get back to sleep. For in the black blankness of sleep, I had come into contact with death. As the morning approached, I fell into a nervous sleep. I was awakened. Hello?
Arnie, this is Carol. Could you meet Jim and me for lunch today?
What time?
About 1?
I hope you'll forgive me if I don't sound awake, Carol. I just couldn't sleep last night.
I didn't sleep either, Arnie. I'll see you at 1.
Then I guess I wasn't the only one who missed out on sleep last night, huh? That's right. I don't know what it was, but I had the craziest dream. When I woke up, I couldn't get back to sleep.
But that's what happened to me, too.
What kind of dream was it, Carol?
Well, everything was dark and gloomy. I seemed to be watching an execution, an old-time execution, maybe 200 or 300 years old. A man walked up the steps of the gallows, Another man was there with a black hood over his head. He raised his arm. The trapdoor opened, and
the man swung back and forth, and there was something familiar about him. Isn't that right?
Yes, but how did you know?
Because my dream was the same as yours, sis. Exactly the same.
Jim's and my vacations were due the following week. We decided to spend it up at the lake, where his family had a cottage. Carol said she might be able to join us on the last weekend, but not before that. Jim and I left the following Friday night.
Well, I can certainly use this vacation. And maybe we can catch a few northerns this time, huh?
Maybe. Is your family going to come up here while we're there?
No. Carol will be up the last weekend, that's all.
Mm-hmm. Well, then I guess we'll have the place to ourselves, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. Hey, why are you stopping here?
Last Sunday night. This is where we stopped. I'm going to get out and take a look at the side of the road for a minute.
Oh, Arnie, why don't you forget about it?
I just want to check it, that's all. That's the tree, isn't it?
I think so.
On that limb. That's where I saw him hanging.
Oh, just thinking about it makes me nervous. Come on, let's go back to the car.
All right.
Carol said that while we were out of the car, she was talking to the fellow we saw.
If that's the case, I can't understand why we didn't see him, too. You know, Jim, there just wasn't enough time for him to get away from the car without our seeing him.
Unless what?
Unless he was never there.
Oh, but that could... Arnie! Look!
In the car seat. Another little piece of rope. Before I could stop him, Jim threw the little noose out into the darkness. A little piece of rope, an inanimate thing, coiled and twisted, which somehow seemed to be alive. We reached the cottage perhaps half an hour later, and though we were both disturbed by what had happened, still it didn't interfere with our sleep. The next day, we went out fishing early, had little luck, and were on our way back to the cottage when the woman who owned the property next door stopped us.
Good morning, Mr. Stanley.
Oh, good morning, Mrs. Bennett.
Out for the weekend?
Well, for the next 2 weeks. Oh, excuse me, Mrs. Bennett, this is Arnold Slade.
Pleased to meet you, Mr. Slade.
Well, thank you. Same here.
You must be that young man that Carol's going to marry.
Yes, that's right.
She'll make you a fine wife, Mr. Slade. Yes. The reason I stopped you, Mr. Stanley, is this.
Mm-hmm.
There's something strange going on out here.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, the constable came by the other day and asked me if I'd seen any strangers here. A couple of people have died over on the other side of the lake. And the constable ain't been able to find out what happened.
How did these people die?
Well, that's what's so strange about it. Both of them were killed by hanging.
Hanging?
That's right. Old Mr. Taylor, who lived about a mile down by the shore, he was one of them, and he couldn't hardly walk. They found him swinging from a tree, but he was several feet off the ground, and nobody can figure out how he got up there.
What the woman had said frightened me. It seemed as if we were getting deeper and ever more deeply into something from which we would never be able to get away. That night, it was Saturday, Jim and I went out for a walk. It was a particularly dark night. The moon was obscured by clouds, and as we walked along, I could hear the chirping of many crickets, and occasionally a bullfrog's hoarse voice raised in protest.
Arnold, this thing has me worried.
In what way, Jim?
This whole thing. Last Sunday night and today when we stopped by the tree. And then what Mrs. Bennett told us.
I've been thinking about it, too.
Well, that's strange.
What?
The crickets have suddenly stopped. It's too quiet. came from over there. We better take a look.
Yeah. It's too quiet, just as you said.
There must be something terribly wrong up here.
I hope nothing... Huh?
Look. Hanging from that tree, swinging back and forth. It's a man.
What are we going to do?
We better cut him down.
No. We better call the authorities first.
I guess you're right. Come on, Mrs. Bennett's got a phone. If we hurry, we may be able to get out a great deal of help to the authorities.
Jim, did you notice how high that branch was?
I saw it.
Yes? Why, Mr. Stanley, it's you.
Mrs. Bennett, may we use your phone?
Well, I suppose so. Come in.
Thanks.
Thank you.
But it's in the other room.
Thanks.
What's the matter, Mr. Slade? It looks like something's happened to upset you two.
Well, it has. It certainly has.
Constable, why, what's happened?
We were out for a walk.
Yes?
We heard a scream.
I think you'd better
We
get out
ran
here
to
right
where
away.
the scream had
We
come
found a
from,
dead
and
man hanging from a
we
tree.
found a man hanging from a tree.
That's right, hanging. Yes, we'll stay here at Mrs. Bennett's. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, what you're telling me the truth, young man?
That's the truth, ma'am.
Mr. Stanley, is what Mr. Slade told me the truth?
I'm afraid it is.
Oh, then no one is safe around here. I wonder who it was.
What difference does that make, Mrs. Bennett? A man's been murdered.
It makes a lot of difference, Mr. Slade. If it was Bill Roberts, then it was just like the other two. I saw him just the other day, and he said someone was playing a joke on him, that he'd been sent a little piece of rope shaped in the form of a noose.
You are listening to the tale of The Hangman's Rope on this week's journey down the corridors of the Hall of Fantasy. We'll return to our story in just a moment. And now, back to our story, entitled The Hangman's Rope.
A little piece of rope. Both Jim and I stared at each other for a moment. It might be coincidence. We knew that, but it was difficult trying to make ourselves believe that. About half an hour later, the constable arrived.
You two found him, that right, Mr. Stanley?
That's right.
We were out taking a walk. We heard a scream, and then we found him.
Can't make heads nor tails out of this. 3 of them. 3 deaths in 2 weeks, all the same way. They all received a little piece of rope just before they died.
A little piece of rope?
Yeah, that's right. I say all 3. I ain't seen the body yet, but I have a pretty good idea who it is, Bill Roberts.
It's enough to make a person afraid of the dark, Constable.
Yeah, ain't it? Well, I want you two to take me to him.
I'll go, too.
No, you stay here. You stay off the phone.
Oh.
I don't want the rest of the people to hear anything about this, at least for the time being. Things are bad enough as it is. All right, come on, let's go. Now, remember what I said, Mrs. Bennett.
Don't you worry none, Constable.
I hope that woman stays off the phone. The whole county will be in an uproar if she doesn't.
Do you, have any idea who's behind these deaths?
No, I haven't.
Funny thing, he was up so high. I don't see how he could have gotten up there by himself.
I only wish I had something to work on. Well, we'll see if he's just like the others in a little while. How far away was he?
There he is, Constable.
I want to get a look at his face. Yeah. I was afraid of that.
Who is it?
Bill Roberts.
But how did he get up there?
The branch is 20 feet off the ground. It would take an acrobat to climb that tree. Bill wasn't any acrobat.
Well, how did he get up there?
I don't know. 3 people received pieces of rope, and then a couple of weeks later, we find him hanging from a tree. You tell me the answer.
We cut him down, but it took almost an hour to get up on that branch to do it. We put him in the constable's car and drove him back to town. Before he left, we told him that we, too, had received the little gift, the noose of rope, which had been, in 3 instances, the forerunner of death. When we got back to the cottage, we had a bite to eat, and seeing as we weren't in the mood to sleep, we sat down to read. I picked up a little book I hadn't seen before and read it from cover to cover. It held an eerie fascination, and I wasn't able to put it down till the last page had been turned, the last word read. Jim? Where did you get this book?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen it before. Why?
It looks like a first edition of 200 years ago.
Well, let me see it.
Here.
A short history concerning the mysterious reappearance of Jack Ketch, a hangman who served as executioner for 23 years. I've never seen this book before.
Well, then how did it get here?
I don't know. Jack Ketch. Say, he was the hangman in England who took too much pleasure in his work, isn't that right?
I think so.
How much of this did you read?
All of it. It's not very long.
And
this is what I got out of it. Before he died, the book says he had made some kind of a pact with an evil power. It seems they actually do have a written copy of that agreement somewhere in England. And there's his signature. And an illegible scrawl that no one has ever been able to decipher. The pact promises life after death for him in exchange for certain services. Then the book says that year after year some rather mysterious deaths have occurred. They find the victims hanging from the branch of a tree almost impossible to climb. And the book also says that each of the murdered people received a little piece of rope before their deaths, identical to the ones Jack Ketch used as executioner. That is the warning. The warning of death to follow.
But that's impossible. The man's been dead for over 250 years.
That's right, he's dead. But the rest of the story, it's exactly the same thing that's happening to us. 2 days later, in late evening, the rest of the story unfolded. Jim had gone down to the store to pick up some cigarettes. I'd been down to the shore doing a little fly casting and had started back up to the cottage. I was surprised at how quickly night had fallen. I wished that I'd brought along a flashlight. From somewhere across the lake, I heard the cry of a dog, and the sound of it filtered through and was carried along by the night air. For some reason, I became unaccountably nervous. I stopped walking. I felt someone was watching me. Then from the darkness of the trees, a man emerged.
Here now. Where be you going?
Well, back up to my cottage. I was doing some fly casting till night came.
Any luck?
No. I'd better be going.
No need to hurry you. Why? Nice out here, ain't it?
I suppose so.
Strange thing, you know. The little creatures. They stopped.
Little creatures?
That's right, Governor. Crickets and the frogs. They stopped talking.
Yes, they have.
You frightened me, Governor?
Of course not. What are you laughing at?
You wouldn't understand it, Governor.
Is that you down there, Mr. Slade?
Oh, yes, Mrs. Bennett.
Do you mind if I join you?
No, of course not.
Ah, good.
I'd better be going, eh, Governor? I'll see you another time.
Who are you talking to?
I don't know. He just stepped out of the darkness, and there he was.
Well, I guess he's gone now.
Yes, I guess he is.
Where's Mr. Stanley?
He went down to pick up some cigarettes. He should be back soon.
Oh, well, the constable told me to tell you that he'd be out tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Would you mind walking me back to my place, Mr. Slade? It's rather frightening out here when it's this dark.
I'll be glad to.
That man you were talking to, what did he look like?
Well, I don't know. I couldn't see his face. He had an accent. It sounded like he might have come from London.
Wait a minute.
Huh?
I can't understand it. The crickets and frogs, they've been starting and stopping all night. They must be afraid of something.
Every time they stop?
What'd you say?
Every time they stop, something happens.
Arnold, where are you?
I'm walking Mrs. Bennett back to her cottage. Anything wrong?
No. I got back from the store and I was wondering where you were. It's just that I have a strange feeling that something is going to happen.
Let's go up to our place, Mrs. Bennett. Maybe the constable will want to see you, too.
That's a good idea. Land's sakes, Mr. Slade. The strangest things have been happening out here lately.
Arnold!
We'll be right there, Jim.
Well, there's someone up here now. I thought I went...
Jim!
Something's wrong, Mr. Slade.
I don't know. Jim! What's the matter? Answer me!
Mr. Slade, look! Oh, hanging from that tree. It's Mr. Stanley.
There is a legend, you know. A tale about the hangman. For 23 years, the executioner for the crown. Jack Ketch was his 9 governor. Jack Ketch.
So runs tonight's tale of the unusual, the terrifying, the unknown. Join us again when next we journey down the corridors of the Hall of Fantasy to hear another strange tale of the supernatural. All characters and events portrayed in these programs are fictional, and any similarity to actual events or persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental.